Okay, guys, now for real. Thank you for being here this morning, very early for some of you in the West Coast, not so early for you in the East Coast. Thank you so much. Gracias to everybody that's coming from out of the States, out of Canada. We have some friends from Mexico, Honduras, and Costa Rica. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry, I'm going to do it only in English or whatever I pretend my English is. And if you have any questions, I have two of my colleagues here, Stefan and Joe. You can see them there on the screen, maybe. They will be on the chat all of the time. So if you need to do any questions during the call, you can type the questions. They will reply to you. If you want to stay at the end of the, okay, Ivan is going to say, you have to record this. I'm going to record this. Don't worry. I'm not going to sell or promote your faces nowhere. It's just to send this to the guys that they couldn't make it this morning. Record. Cool. So some of you know me already. My name is Mariana. I'm the sales manager here in Probewell. We are located in Canada. It's still freezing, but spring is coming, or it's supposed to be here. Today, I'm going to focus mostly on the software part. So for you that they don't know all the company, all of our products, I'm going to briefly summary the products that you can use using the Probewell Connect app 2.0. So the WT3, I don't know how to put it. Okay, WT3, this is a meter tester, 3-phase and single phase. So you can test all of the forms with this from 1 to 9 to 4. The only form that doesn't test is the 5 and the 45. For that one, we have the little brother WT1. WT1 is the single phase version of the other one. This one will test all of the single phase forms, self-contained and city rated. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 12, with the addition of 5 and 45. So with this one, you can do those 5s and 45s. And then we have an addition to the family. This addition, we did it like 3 years ago now. This is their brother site tester. So this one is for inspecting behind the meter. So this one will do power quality, burden, admittance, and ratio test. What I'm going to do today is present the software that goes with them. So as you know, in 2018, we launched our first wireless tester, the WT1 and WT3. So we created an app that goes with them. Now you can remember, I have one here. Our products since 1994 had a remote like this. They still are on the line. You can still control it with the remote. But in 2018, we decided to offer another option, which is the wireless functions. And this allowed us to give you a little more functions that we could with the remote because we were restrained on the space, on the memory on that remote. So we decided to go on the wireless side. We created our own app to control the tester and to download the reports and to share them. In 2018, we released Probewell Connect first version. I'm going to show you very briefly. So this is the new one that I'm going to show you today. But if you remember correctly, this is Probewell Connect first version. It's still there. You can still download it. You can still use it, but it's not developed anymore. So we support the products, but we don't put any effort into developing this one because we decided to move on from this one as the new one, 2.0, give us a lot more options. Before getting into it, I'm going to show you my screen for a minute because I'm going to show you our webpage, where to download the Windows version, where to download the manual. There's a nice 70, 80 pages manual of the app. That manual gets updated almost every time we release a new software version. So if you have any doubts on how to use the settings or how to create questions or how to modify the CSV file, you have those answers in the manual. So let's go for that. I'm going to share my screen for a minute, then I'm going to come back. You can see my screen, right? Perfect. So This is the support portal. I'm going to go back. Oops. So support, this one. This is the support portal. You have to create a user. So I'm logged in and I can access the knowledge base. Why creating a user? Because you have the software and firmware section available only for clients that they have a user. So in here, you can see the latest release notes. When we send an email with a new update, we have all the software available for non-wireless and wireless products. And we have the firmware download for those that they didn't have the opportunity to update an old tester. I will go into this in a minute. Also, as I told you, we have in our website on the software side, Probewell Connect. And if you scroll down, you will see here how to download for Windows. And then you scroll down a little bit more, and in this section, you will find the manual. This is a very big and complete manual. You can use it, but you can also create a support case, contact us. If you contact us or you click on support, you can complete a ticket, and it goes straight to our support line with Stefan and Joe replying them for you. Okay, I'll finish here. I'm going to close this. So as I mentioned before, 2018, we have the older app. And in 2022, last year in May, we decided to release Probewell Connect 2.0. The reason is because the first app in 2018, you know how fast technology goes. It didn't allow us to give you some of the features that you were requesting that I will show you in a minute. One of them is adding pictures in reports. So since 2020, we started working on a new one, and we released the new one last year in 2022 in May. 2.0, and we sent a few releases after that. So we are in currently version 2.2. In May, you will see 2.3 version coming out. And I'm going to be using 2.3 because I'm part of the beta testing group. So I'm going to show you what's coming in a little bit ahead. And if something doesn't work, I have the software engineer right behind me. So a really important note that I'm going to show you now. So in order to use 2.0, you must have the most recent firmware version inside the socket. How can you see that? I'll show you how to do it with the older app in case you didn't go to 2.0 already. So first I'm going to turn on the unit. In order to see the firmware version in the unit, I need to connect. So this is the new version, but if you're still on the old one, I'm going to show you how to connect and see what version you are now. So let's go back to Probewell Connect, and you scan the QR code. You join. I'm connecting to the unit. So this is just to show you how to see if your firmware version is up to date, which is important if you want to use 2.0 software. You go to the question mark on the top right, and then you go to the App tab, and you will see firmware 1.7.0. That's the most recent firmware version for WT Tester. That's important because if you have an older version, it's going to be harder to connect with 2.0 on the software, on the app. So I'm going to disconnect. You can disconnect clicking on the question mark, disconnecting. I'm going to swipe up, and then you have Probewell Connect. If you want to see the version on the new one, you scan the QR code or you find it on the list of networks. If you already scan it first, I scan it, join the network. As you see, I'm using 2.3, but you must see 2.2 on your app currently. Now I'm connecting with the new app. You go to the three lines on the top left, you open information, and you open app. It's kind of the tab that we used to have, and you will see firmware version 1.7.0. The rest of the version, it's engineering jibbery jabbers. They have a purpose, so they leave it like this. But it's 1.7.0, so I'm up to date, and I'm using software version 2.3, but you're using 2.2 as of now. So since I'm connected, I'm going to go straight to the app. Wait, I'm going to disconnect, so I'll show you how to connect properly and how to connect from different angles. Disconnected. So since I'm working with multiple testers here, they always, once I scan it for the first time, they remember the app remembers that network. If I want to take it out of there, I don't use it anymore, or I don't want to have this many, I just swap left, gone. If I use this one first, the one I'm using ends up in 3302. I can connect directly using this network or scan it like I just did before. I'm going to use this network because this is my second or third time using this machine, so I'm going to do it that way. Now I'm connected. Most of the things can be done offline. I'm going to show you in a minute. So now I'm in the online mode. Why I know that? Because the meter setup is available. Everything is available except for the test. I'm going to be able to see the test once my setup is done. So if you see the green Wi-Fi symbol here, or you have all of the options not grayed out, means you're properly connected. If for some reason it says unable to connect, look, I'll show you something. Let's say I put the tabs in the wrong position at the back. I'm going to try to connect with the same unit that I'm using. You don't have the light, you don't have the noise of the unit coming. Make sure the tabs are correct in the back, because if you don't start the unit, you won't have access to the network, because we need the Wi-Fi signal to come to the phone. So it looks obvious, but I'm going to just try to connect, join, and it's not going to do anything. Probably tell me that I'm unable to connect. So first clue is the tabs at the back. Maybe I'm not using the right tester, so unable to connect. Now let's go to the real thing. Now I'm pretending that I couldn't connect because I forgot to put a tab in the wrong position. I didn't use the on/off button. Something could come up and you are unable to connect. Or it can happen that you're using a tablet and a phone, and your phone connected straight away with the unit, and you're using your tablet. For some reason, you cannot connect. Only one connection at a time. Okay, so let's go what you can do offline. As you can see, I don't have a setup and the test available. They're grayed out, so it means that I'm offline. All of the information, as I showed you before, are under the information tab. Things that the site is not there. I cannot see the mirror TA or form because I'm offline, but I can still see some of the information like the framework. No, I cannot see the framework because I'm not connected. The only thing I can see is that. And if you need any help, you have the help button, you have the support, you can send an email, or you can call the support line directly from there if you have any trouble in the field or in the office. Let's go to the settings. So you have the general settings. These settings are for both models. It's to configure your phone to work with both units. And this is general. On the general, on the application parameters, you have the language. You can swipe for English, Spanish, and French. You have the dark mode versus the clear mode. Sometimes outside is better the dark mode. So when you have the sunlight, it's better white over gray. The pass-fail, I'm going to talk about it when I'm going to do the test. So pass-fail is depending on the settings on your parameters. For example, if my meter accuracy, I want it to fail at 0.5%, I configure my parameters to fail at 0.5, and if it fails, it's going to show me it fails. I'm going to leave it open for now, but then I'm going to remove it. I'm going to do a second test to show you that they all disappear. We are in imperial system, but you can put in metric if you prefer. We put it in US date. You know, days and months are inverted. And a work order mandatory, you can, this is off by default, but if you want the work order to appear in all of your reports and that they are mandatory, so you don't skip this part, you can put it to on. In this case, it comes off because it's a new feature that we have added. So for those that they want to put it mandatory, they just toggle, and that's it. And with the green, I'm going to leave it to off. With the green, you accept those changes. Then the utility profile. This you have to complete it just once, and this will brand your reports. All your PDF reports will have a nice header with the company logo and all the same information. How to add a logo? You click on the logo and you go find one. I'm going to put the other one back. Whoops, not that one, this one. And this is just typing the information and save it. You just need to do this once and all your reports are branded from now on. And user profile, your name, your last name, your email address, and your employee ID. This is not mandatory, the employee ID, but you can add it if you need it for your reports. This will be part of the headers as well. So all the reports will contain this information. So I'm going to briefly show you the WT settings and the XT settings. So depending on the unit you're using, you can access the settings for a particular tester because it's very different to use the site tester from the Mito tester. So we separated those settings in two. It looks slightly different than your version because I'm using 3. So don't freak out. Things are moved to make it more comfortable for the user. And you're going to get used to when we release the new app in May, late May this year. So you will see the same thing in 2 months from now. So you have the factory default on the top left of the page. Those are to set it back from the default that we send it from here from the lab. So let's say you've been playing around with all those things and you think you did something wrong, factory default, it will get all back to what it was before. Reset socket, if you want to, for example, you're testing a meter and you want the relays to open and close, so you start over with that setup, you can reset socket and start over. You can always power on and off. It will do the same thing, connect, disconnect, and start over. You will see on the side of the WT3 export settings and import settings. These are, it was there also, you have it there, but we are polishing a little bit this function on the upcoming version. So let's say I created a nice profile, I have personalized questions and a lot of new settings. I want to keep a copy so I can share with my colleague who has another WT. Instead of creating a new logo, a new company, and all this huge profile, I share it with them. How to share it? I export the settings. I can pick and choose what part I want to share with this person, or I can export all of it. General, WT, and XT. I press on the check, and it will create a file that is called PW. I just need to put it on my files. I'll keep it in my files because in case I lose it or I do something with it, I can change the name so I can find it easily. I'm going to put test MN, done. And if I need to send that file, I just go to my emails. I create a new one. And I go to my files, attach a file, and I attach that document. And I send it by email, Dunk Profile Mariana. And I send it to myself. But I can do the same thing with the other person. So when you get that email back, okay. So once I receive it, I just click on it and it will save into my files. I already did, so I don't have to do this part. So if I'm the second person, the person receiving the profile, I just click on import. It goes to my files and I import that one. Simple as that. Then you have here on the white line with the trash can, you have the default. Default is all the settings as they come, but if I want to create a different one so I don't touch the default one, I can always add a setting and call it profile test. So everything I change, it will be on this profile change. I'm going to show you an example. I'm going to open the systems. Let's say my barcode type is not an AP format. It's in code 39 format. I'll do it like this, and I save it. So my default will have the AP, but my profile test will have the code 39. Same thing for, let's say I prefer my results shown in error instead of registration. So I just put it on error and I save it. My defaults are in registration, but my profile test, it's in error. Same thing for meter. This is what I was talking about, the pass and fail status. By default, the electronic precision for the solid state are 0.2. I prefer that they fail at 5%. So I just type 5%, 0.5%, sorry, and I save it. So at the default, I'm going to use that one. But if I'm using the profile test, I'm going to use 0.5, right? I'm going to go back to default just in case I screw something up. Okay. Calibration, it's open, but it's only used when you're doing calibration on the units. So I won't be using this part. And I'll show you something that it's fairly new on the custom question. Remember when we do a me-too test or a site test, that we can add questions at the end. So we have a complete report. We can create questions and we can create different questions with different types of answers now. So for example, I'm going to create a new question. I have 4 options: description field, drop-down menu, checkbox, or radio. So I can create a new one. I'm going to do it right now, a drop-down. I will make it up, location. And since it's a drop-down, I have to create my responses options. So I will create a house, a building, and something. And I save it. So every time I finish my test, it's going to ask me all these questions. I'm going to have different types of answers. Description, something to note, or checkbox, or drop-down. In this case, I'm going to erase this last one because, and it's easy to erase. We click on the checkbox and then we put it on the garbage. Okay. So this is fairly new. This is another thing that is fairly new: personalized test sequence. Oops, it's offline. It's going to be online after. So I'm going to connect in a minute and I'm going to show you how to create a personalized sequence. What do we call a personalized sequence? Remember when we do a quick test, you go from high-low to light-low to power factor, and then it calculates the weight average. Let's say all of the tests that I do are just high-low and light-low, and we remove the power factor. So I can create a test that is called high-low, light-low. When I click on it, it's just high-low and light-low, no power factor. So you can make it a little easier for you. I'll show you how to create when I'm going to be online. And the CSV, we, for the first time, we're giving the customers the ability to change a little bit the CSV that we provided. We didn't change the one we have from forever, that it's come from the remote one from Entidata 1, but we give you some options to modify slightly that file that we give you, because we have many customers that use it for the last 20 years, so we still provide the same exact CSV. So if they have a system where they import or export it, there's not going to be changes. But for those that they want to change a small thing, with the 6 dots, you can change the position on the CSV. You can also remove it by unchecking the box. You can rename it. And we have added at the very bottom the work order and the site ID. But remember that they are, by default, they're not checked because it's not the same way as the usual file. So we didn't want to make our customers that they already have the export already programmed. So if you want to add it, you just click on it. Okay. And you can factory default and go back to normal. On the XT series, most of the settings are exactly like the WT. You have the factory default. If you have been changing or tampering any of the settings. You have the export settings and the import settings, just the other one. So if you have modified something on the parameters, on the thresholds, and you want to share with your colleagues, you can export and import that file. There's still going to be some changes on this because we have received a lot of wonderful, very constructive comments on the XT because people is using it more and more. It's almost 3 years old, so it's becoming an adolescent or somehow. So what are we doing with this? There's things that we cannot change. We're going to grade them out, among other stuff. We're going to increase some of the thresholds a little bit because coming from factory, we have very, very tight thresholds. And let's face it, real life, the CTs or the installations are not as perfect conditions that they should be. So we are enlarging a little bit of the threshold, and we are still working on making it a little more automatic, a little more easier for you. So we, on the next release notes in May, make sure you read those release notes because we're going to make a few changes from now then. Target date, end of May. Hopefully everything will be completed by then, so we can share this update with you. You also have custom questions, and in this case, you have custom questions for this specific tester. So you can have the same one as the other one, or you can create some new questions specific for site testing, location, or you also have the notes, but I'm going to show you that when we're going to do a report. Now you have the ability to write some notes. I don't think there's a limit of characters, right? You can write a novel if you want to in the field, typing in your phone. There's no limit on the characters. So you can put a really nice note. If you're doing a site tester and a meter tester, you can put a note. You can add some comments. You can say whatever the customer told you. You can add notes about the location, how you find it. And a beautiful thing that I'm going to show you, we add some pictures on the report. So I think I'm going to start testing so I can show you some functions within the app when it's connected. So I'm turning on the machine. So to connect, I either click on the wireless or the 3 dots and go to connect. I use the same one to connect to the machine. I press join. I will hear some beeping. So the first beepings when you start the unit is to power the computer, but now it's beeping because it's connecting the network to my phone. So they will, if I have a meter, it will always propose a meter on the first page. There's something really nice for you guys. So I'm using on the meter, the system at AEP barcode. I'm using 2 meters that they have AEP barcode. So I'm going to go back to setup. On the main screen, you have the meter ID. I always use, if I can, the barcode scanner because it will save me some time and it will save me some human errors on the typing and entering the number. I know it's not always possible because sometimes the covers are a little bit gray or yellowy because of the wind or stuff. If you can remove the cover and scan it, that would be great. If not, you can always type and it will pop out the keyboard. In this case, I'm going to use the barcode scanner. You can see that the meter foam, it was proposed. The test amperage is the most common for a 9S. If I need to change it, I can. But since I'm going to use the barcode, you're going to see on the KH, it's going to detect the KH that it's programmed on that barcode. If I have that program in there. If I have 2 barcodes, I put my finger on over one, so I don't scan the wrong one. Sometimes it happens that your meters have 2 barcodes, or maybe they have a barcode and a QR code. In this case, I just put my finger covering the wrong one, the serial number of the meter, and I have the proper meter ID and I have the proper case of age. This is the shortest way. So if you can scan the barcode, it's great. If you don't know if it's an AEP, you can try the several options that you have on your settings. I'm going to confirm the setup. I'm going to try to do this second part in about 15 minutes. So we have at least 10 or 15 minutes after to ask questions and reply them. So as you see, Now that I'm online, I can show you how to create a personalized test sequence. In this case, I go to settings, I go to WT because I'm using the WT, and I go to personalized test sequence. Let's say I want to do a test in forward, and immediately I want to do a test in reverse. What I do first is put a name, so test in this case, but you can put a name that means something to you so you recognize the type of test that you create. Press on create, and with the pencil, I get in and I create a test. This is going to be also polished a little bit for the new version because you have to touch on different things. We're going to simplify a little bit for you. In this case, I'm going to do a quick test. And if I press on plus, I'm going to leave it like this. It's going to do a normal quick test in forward, exactly that we do normally. But when I click on the pencil again, I'm going to add another quick test. But in this case, when I press on the plus, I'm going to put it in reverse and create and save with a check. So my test it's composed by two test sequences, one in forward, one in reverse. Both of them high load, light low, power factor. And this test, when you press play, it runs autonomously. I'm going to go back to the test. So when you create a new test, it appears on the top of the part of the page. If you don't want them anymore, you go back to your settings and you put them in the garbage. In this case, I will start with forward and reverse, and that's it. I don't have to do anything else. It will start, you will get the pulse, it will start the test. Results are going to appear as they come. It's going to first test in forward, and then it's going to move to reverse all by itself. And when it's finished, it's going to create a nice report with 2 pages, one with forward, one with reverse. And at the end, it's going to ask me the questions and it's going to offer me to put some pictures on it. So for demonstration purposes, I'm going to let it go so we can see the complete test. I'm using a 9S in this case, but you can do it with any kind of test. The only thing is when you will have to create for now, for example, you're doing a 2S, you will have to do a custom test to test, for example, A and C phase. But if you do a forward and reverse, it will go any kind of meter because it does all 3 phases at once. It's going to take about 1 more minute and a half. If you have any questions, you can unmute you and ask the questions, or I can finish the test. And when I finish the 2-3 things that I want to show you after, we can go on the Q&A. Weight average, it's calculated automatically. Another change that we're going to see on the 2.3 version is that we're going to be able to change that weight average as we want. If somebody does 4 load divided by 5, you can do it as you prefer. As you can see, the pages swap is doing the second part of my test, is doing the quick test on reverse in this case. You can see because my energy is running backward. If I see the meter, I can see the line going backwards. So there's nothing to do but wait until the test is finished. If you click on records or settings or any of the tabs on the top, your meter test will stop. It's the only thing you cannot do while you're doing the test. You can take a break or do a phone call, but you cannot touch any of the other options while you do a test, because if not, you will have to start over. Power factor, and then it's going to go to light low. Remember, some of your meters, they have, not all of them, but some AMI communication models might induce some pulses. So if you can, or most of the time, just to try to put it in test mode. It will help out. You will have a nice report at the end, because some AMIs, they will burst into pulses and they might confuse the pulse from the test. So as much as you can, put the meter in test mode. If you don't know how to put in test mode, I'm sure your meter manufacturer will help you out. If not, you can call Stefan or Joe and we can figure it out together. We have a bunch of meters here and we'll learn how to put them in test mode. They are different ways, but it's pretty simple. It's just a button or a tab or something that you just switch to test. When the test is finished, it's going to ask me, do you want to save the report? I'm going to press yes. Since I created some of the questions for me, I have reason for testing. I added some options, high bill complaints, sampling, periodic, maintenance. I will press on other. And I want to know if the customer was at premises while I was doing the test. I can click on yes or not applicable or else. And you can also put some notes. This is important because you used to write a lot when you had a paper and you put some notes for the supervisor or for the engineer to see after. Now you can add notes, for example, location, easy to find, meter broken, and done. The other very nice thing that we added in this version, the first time that we added, and you have been asking for it a lot, I really recommend to use this option because there's nothing better than an image that you can join to your report. You press on the camera and you can take a picture, save it with the green, and you can take up to 3 for now. So I'm going to do another one. Yes, and a third one just to say. And with the green, check, all is saved. So now it's time to go to our reports. Reports is the second tab. I have 50 tests available on my phone. If I want to erase them all, I click on the checkbox on the top and I put them in the garbage. Easy as that. But I will always suggest when you do testing, if you go very far from your office to do a test, always send yourself a copy. Because if something happens with your phone, it gets stolen, it falls in the water, it breaks for some reason, you will lose that test. So your work is important. Keep that record because it's proof of your work, proof of that 3 hours that you drive and you test the meter out there and you came back. In this case, I did a forward and reverse. I'm going to click on that specific test and I'm going to put it in PDF format only for now. So I checkbox, I put PDF and I send it by the paper plane. It will create my report already. I can access to that PDF by clicking on the PDF before sending that email. We created a nice header, so you have the logo of the company, all the information. You have your name, your email address, all in the header already there. I will talk about the pass-fail in a minute, but you can notice here that it passed because it's it's 100%, and my threshold was 0.2, so it passed. In this case, I have the meter ID, I have all the information about that specific meter. Since I'm using my phone, I have GPS location, which is important if you want to map your test, or if you need another traceable information to know where this meter was or to find it in time if you need to. You have the report date and the test date. You have the serial number and the model of the tester you use. If you scroll, this is the reverse test. So you can see the reverse, your energy there's a minus on energy. So it's the same test, the second test that we did on reverse flow power. If I continue, I have the pictures. Really nice. 3 because it's the maximum that we allowed as of now. And then you have reason for testing, other, customer at premises, not applicable, and my notes that I can write a book if I want to. And I press sur paper plane. I can press on WhatsApp or text or email, and I send it to whoever I want, and I send it. Easy peasy. So that's why I say when you finish your test, try to send a copy to yourself, just in case something happens with your phone, your work is safe. Then I'm going to show you how to use the filters. So let's say you have both XT and WT, but you're doing a sampling program on your meters. So you want to have a CSV file only with the quick test that you've done. In this case, you see the filter under the records tab. There's a filter there. So I can filter with date, I can filter with site ID or meter ID. So it's easy to find something if you need to go back, if it's still in your phone. And you can filter on the type of test. So I'm going to filter on quick just to show you how to do a CSV file with all of the meter tests. I close this. So now I can see all of the tests that I did quick. The first two, I did 2 quicks in the same one. So I will have all these reports one after the other. If I put in a CSV format, oops, I have to click on it first, to check on all of them, and then you create your CSV, whoops, and you click on the paper plane. In the CSV, you cannot access directly, so I'm going to send it to myself, and I'm going to show it to you after. Voila. I send it to myself, so I'm going to go open and show it to you now. Test report. This is the first one that I sent with the PDF one. And the second one I have is the CSV file. I'm showing it to you on my phone, so I'm going to make it a little bigger. But you will have all the same information, but on the same line. So my last 2 or 4 tests that I did are on the same line. You have all the same information you have on the report. And you have at the end, if I did it properly, oh, I didn't check on a work ID or site ID, but if you need more columns, the ones that we added on the new version, they will be here at the back. So this is really nice if you're doing periodic or sampling because you have all of them on the same one. It's always good at the end of the week to send one of these reports to keep it for your records. So you can now go back to the app and delete them all. Just click on everything and put on the garbage. I'm going to cancel because I want to keep my reports just for demo purposes. But you can go from scratch from there. And if you need to remove the filter, you just clear the filter and you go back to all of the tests that I've done. Did I miss anything? Probably not, right? It's exactly 11:17. I think I'm going to open the line. I would like to thank you for those that are going to be leaving now. Thank you very much for spending some time with me. You have Stefan and Joel. Please remember their names and their email address. You always have the support@probewell.com if you have any questions. If you want to stay here with me and ask questions, I can show it to you on the phone. I'm sorry I didn't have time to show you all of the tests and all of the abilities that they have, but we only have like 1 hour. But you always have my support team and all the reps available and distributors available for you that I can help you reply to all these questions. I'm going to open the lines. If you want to ask any question, just unmute you. And for those that are leaving, thank you so much for spending all this time with me. We're going to send a copy of this for your records. Do we have any questions that you want me to show on my phone since I'm here and it's connected? Oh, there's one.
Hey,
Hi, Eddie. How are you?
Doing fine, and you?
Good, sir. Thank you. You're going to see Joe next week. Oh, in 2 weeks.
Yeah, in the meter school.
Yes, sir.
Nathan, my partner, asked about the utility profile.
Yes.
It wasn't accepting our email because it had a dash in it. Are y'all addressing that, or it's showing up on the user profile, but on the utility profile?
We can accept it on the next version. My software guy is saying yes.
Okay.
So in the May release, we're going to accept the symbols. Sometimes they're tricky. We have to think of all of the options. So end of May, you're going to receive an email saying the app is ready, release notes are there, and it's going to allow for the dash to go in.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Appreciate. Any other question I can help you with? You can always call us. It's easy if something happened in the field, if you can call right away to the support office, if it's Monday to Friday, and try to speak with somebody and show what's happening to you. We can help you if we have eyes on what's happening for you. It's easier for us if you can save the report and share it with the support team. It's always easy. A photograph, a report, and if you need any support with that, they will help you out. I think nobody has a question. If you have a question, raise your hand now. If not, oh, there's questions on the side. You're getting there?
Is there any way we could go over admittance testing real quick?
Yes, ma'am. He will help me out. So I'm going to connect this one, but I'm going to connect it on the side of the room that there's no, that there's installation C2 rated. In this case, I was using a self-contained. So I'm going to install that tester. When I say I, it's Gabriel doing the work for me. So
Okay,
he's connecting.
let me explain what the admittance is first, because
Thank
I
you,
think it's
Stefan.
what the question is.
Thanks.
The admittance is actually, we're verifying what the conductivity is through the CT, through the installation in the CT. So it's not to determine if the wiring is done reverse or anything, because we can't see it. What we do is send an audio signal through it and making sure the path is actually good. It doesn't see if it's actually reversed. The reverse will be in your power quality or in your ratio test.
Yeah, but you have the vector diagram and you have a lot of information on the power quality. So the power quality can be done without any accessories in any kind of load, right? If we have a load,
Yes.
or if we don't have a load, we can do a power quality. So we will see a vector diagram and we will see a waveform and all the harmonics. We are adding some changes on the XT. I know that you don't like to see a test fail on the top of the screen. We're going to change that because it's very discouraging. It's not that the test is failing, it's that the results that is reading are outside the parameters on the threshold that you have on your settings. So we're going to do two things. One, adjust those parameters so they're a little bit larger, because it's very tight from what we send here on default. And the other thing is that we're going to change how the display show you the information. Oh, I forgot to show you something. On the May application, when you're going to put it to pass or fail toggle off, it's going to remove any notion of pass fail. So no X's, no checks, no red marks, nothing. I do prefer have a test pass because it will show me in red very fast where it's failing. I don't have to look for it. I don't have to look for those numbers. But then I can remove it and I can save that report. So if I want to share the report, it's going to have any red. So that's the purpose of the test pass. For those asking about admittance, admittance is really good to verify what the state of those CTs in vacant or empty or no load locations. Power quality should be done in every location, whether you have or you don't, because in power quality test, there's a lot of information that will help you out to see the wiring, to see the connections, if they're loose, if something is rusty, if there's a wiring inversion. So power quality is a very important test, and it will give you a ton of information. Then the admittance, if you cannot do burden and ratio, you can do the admittance test. Burden and ratio, you need to have at least 0.3, 0.5 amps load. So if you don't have that, it will not let you do a burden or a ratio. But you will be able to do an admittance test. The admittance test first is a number because it's measuring millisiemens. So the number, you can compare the number on three phases. The number on three phases should be on the same range of numbers. You cannot have one that is 30 and one that it's 100. So that will give you some piece of information. And then the next time you come to the same installation, you will compare the first results with the second. If something changed, it will tell you information about that CT, the health of that CT. And you wanted to see an admittance test. Admittance. and you press start. And on the XT, you have 2 tests that they are live, they're streaming live data. That's the power quality and the ratio test, right? I'm not lying. And the other one, the other 2 are sequence tests. So burden, it's gonna go from one ohm to the other up to the burden that you put on the setup page. So if you have 0.2, it's gonna do 0, 0.1, 0.2, and it's gonna stop, and that's for the 3 phases. In admittance, you're gonna just press play, and every time you have a result, like in this case, A, I have the result, B, I have the result, and I will have the result very soon. I'm not reading the questions, but the guys are taking care of replying your questions. It's almost done. So you can see both numbers in millisiemens and in ohms. You can both see that the numbers are within the same range. My CTs are within 33-ish. If it's 33, 36, it will be okay. If, for example, one of my CTs, it's very big or very small, it will show you an open and a short. So that's the information that you can have from the admittance test. All of the information about the wiring or anything that connections, you will see it on the power quality better. And you will see also the harmonics and the waveform. It will tell you a lot of information, and you have all the graphs. You can see it live. And when you decide, I will press, do you want to save? Yes. It will ask me all these questions. I can skip them by checking, and it will be saved on my records. And if you want to see the report, open it before send it. You always have the results, and you also have the graphs. So as you can see, the graphs are very easy to help you see the installation, and you can be there as long as you want because this is live data. When you're going to save it, it's going to take a small picture of that precise second when you stop the test. It's officially over because it's 11:30. Some of you need to work. Some of you need to pretend to work. Whatever you have to do, I appreciate all the time that you have today. 1 whole hour for me, I really, really appreciate. The ones that they have any type of questions or support calls, send it if you can to support@probewell.com. Stefan and Joe will make sure that they help you out. And I'll thank you for that. I think we finished. Thank you for all your time. Have a wonderful day.